I would recommend anybody to just read about it, read a negotiation book, watch something on YouTube. There's so much free info out there, and become a better negotiator, because I truly believe that when we become a better negotiator, we also become better human beings.
Welcome to the new episode on the Transformative Purpose podcast. I am super excited today because this is for the first time we have a professional negotiator on our show. And she is an international speaker, trainer, and advisor in negotiations and emotional intelligence to many top CEOs. She has worked in high-pressure trading floors of investment banks and led high-stakes negotiations with stock exchanges and regulators, including a lot of M&As and IPOs. Welcome to the Transformative Purpose podcast, Lousin Mehrabi. How are you today?
Thank you, Aaron. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure talking to you. I'm very well, thank you. Greetings from Dubai.
Greetings from Hong Kong too. Pleasure was mine. I've been looking forward to this show, and I can't wait to hear your insights on this topic. It's a very important topic. How did you get into negotiations?
I started negotiating with my father when I was a young child. I was the second child out of 4, and we were immigrants moving from one country to another, so we had to adapt to this new culture. And my dad used to be very strict. He wouldn't let us go out. And of course, we were young adults. We wanted to go out. So my sisters would always send me forward and say, Luz, go negotiate with daddy. So that's where it all started. And then I actually liked it. And I think I was about 14, 15. I went to the library and I rented a book on how to become a better lobbyist. And I remember my sister telling me, what are you reading? Just read stuff of your own age. But I was so fascinated by the subject of influence and persuasion and how that works, the psychology around it. And then, as you said, my work was in finance. And I had to negotiate financial and commercial deals there. And that's when the stock exchange I was working for hired 2 professional negotiators to come and train us. That was an amazing training, 1 year long, complete masterclass in complex negotiations, where we learned everything from body language and lie detection and the psychology and all the steps that are important in complex negotiations. And I loved it so much that I decided to continue even after the training to learn from them and their books and everything that they were doing. Long story short, I left the stock exchange for a different reason, moved to Dubai. They saw on LinkedIn that I was in Dubai and said, why don't you join us and become a consultant for us? And that's what I'm doing now. So the company's name is ADN Group, based in Paris, and I am their global head of negotiation training now, based in Dubai, and we're covering the entire world.
You mentioned you used to work, with stock exchanges, regulators, and working on a lot of M&As and IPOs. That was traditionally, I think still today, a very male-dominated environment, right? So how did you thrive in that kind of environment? And
Yes, finance is still today, as you said, the male dominant. That's true, especially on the trading floors. I remember one of the first trading floors I was working, it was in Paris, a German bank. It was a small trading floor, but still I was the only woman. That was a long time ago, though, 2004, 2005. But what's interesting is we do have women, but they get to work in other departments like HR and marketing and events and legal. And there you see, male, female, kind of the same. But on the trading floor, the commercial roles, that is still male dominant. How did I thrive in that world? Well, I've been in and out there for 15 years. And when I left, it was still male dominant. I would say one of the things is that also through my education, I've learned that for me, there's no difference between men and women in terms of performance and capabilities. So with that mindset, I don't let gender be a barrier in my head. Of course, there are differences between men and women. And I think we should, instead of saying, oh, there are no differences, yes, there are differences, be it physical or be it, whatever. And instead of denying that, we should reinforce our own strengths and what we bring to the table. So I guess that helped me. And also from a young age, I just tend to hang out and have more male friends than female. I don't know why, but I think it's easier to work with men. So that was just a natural environment for me. That was fine. But it's, of course, an extra struggle as a woman. You have to show what you can and what you're worth and all that more than men to be taken seriously as much, which of course is not fair, but that's just the reality. And instead of complaining or whining about, oh, it's not fair, this and that. It's just the reality, so we have to accept it and deal with it the best we can. But I've seen many women, because of the pressure and because of also sexism behavior and that kind of stuff, I've seen many women literally walk away in tears, which obviously is not okay, right? So there's still a lot to be done for gender equality, and I speak about that, whenever I get the opportunity.
Yeah. In your experience, right, are there any advantages and disadvantages being a female negotiator in your industry?
Well, when we look at the professional negotiation world, women are only about 10 to 15% of professional negotiators, so really not that much. And again, a lot to be done to get that a bit more equal, especially if you look in crisis negotiations. So if you look at SWAT, the professional negotiators that go in and negotiate, for example, hostage takings or that kind of high stakes before the SWAT team comes in, the percentage is even lower. So why is that, and what can we do? One of the reasons is that women tend to have more doubt about their own capabilities, have less confidence to go in and make it happen, whereas men ask themselves way less questions about, can I do it? Will I be up for the job? High stakes, etc. So there's a lot to be done to show women that they have the same capabilities, if not better. Research shows that women actually are better negotiators. The other day I was talking to Sarah Lechever. She has done an amazing job in research and training women in negotiations, and that's what she said. So the facts are there. We women can definitely negotiate the same, if not better, as men, but there is still a subconscious bias of both men and women. There is still a lack of self-confidence that we need to work on, assertiveness, all those things, to bring in more women to the table and have all the advantages that we have as women in terms of certain skills that are crucial in important negotiations.
You mentioned subconscious biases and the importance for women to feel, I guess, less doubt when it comes to the profession, right? Did you ever feel a need to act as someone that you are not, so that you can be seen as someone that you're capable?
Yeah, very good question. And yes, absolutely. Yeah, if I look back on my career, I've definitely said things that were not necessarily me, done things, wore certain clothes to fit in. Thank God I grew over all that, so that's not happening anymore. But yes, of course you do. You do, as I think both men and women, we do whatever we can do to fit in, right? But it's very important to be aware of that and saying, is this really me, or is this what I think is expected of me? And have the courage to stay true to who we are and what we do.
Is it common to show your vulnerable side in in the professional career in terms of negotiation?
I used to not at all. When I was at work, I was a professional, sharing nothing about me, myself, my personal story, my family, nothing. But then I learned on the field that when you are authentic, when you are real, we connect way more with people. And in some situations, that connection, that bonding is what makes a whole difference in a negotiation. And in any relation, I would say, in whether it's sales or in any relation where human interaction is, I think authenticity is super important. And being able to share, what's on your mind with honesty, with, of course, professionalism is, I believe, now crucial to connect with people and to go deeper than the superficial relationship that we might have. So a few years ago, I started sharing a personal story that wasn't easy to go through and to live and to share. And the feedback I received is just amazing. And now I'm saying this is part of me, so I bring that to the table. And yes, I've seen you connect better with people, but you connect also, all of a sudden, you're not talking to a title anymore. You're not talking to a name anymore. You're talking to a human being. It's becoming this beautiful connection from one human to another human. The ego falls away. The titles fall away. The masks fall away. And you connect from heart to heart. And that's a beautiful feeling. And now that I know that feeling, I don't take less anymore. I want all my relationships to be real, to be authentic, to be vulnerable if need be, and connect on a true human level.
That's really beautifully said. One of the reasons why we got connected on LinkedIn was really because I saw a very profound life story about yourself and how you found out that your first son was diagnosed with DMD, Duchenne Muscular Dystrophy. And for the benefit of the listeners, it is a genetic disorder which will eventually lead to muscle degeneration and eventually may lead to assisted ventilation and premature death. So I'm really glad that you actually open up and openly share this story. I thought it was really beautiful, and I just couldn't imagine the pain and challenges that you and your family had to go through when you found out that news. I was wondering, could you share with us what was the journey like when you find out, what happened to your son, and how did you overcome the stress and anxiety, and how do you live by it on a daily basis?
Yeah, so that was 4 years ago. I had left the stock exchange, done an executive coaching program, and I wanted to help people go through adversity. I wanted to help people negotiate better and use negotiation skills in everyday life. And I was fascinated by people who went through hardship and came out, even stronger. I was fascinated by people, by leaders who were able to remain calm in crisis situations. So that's what I studied for a year. And then I launched my own company thinking, okay, this is what I want to do. And I felt like, oh, wow, this is my calling and I love it. And literally 1 month after, we had a doctor appointment who examined my son, who was only 5 by then, and said, something is seriously wrong. We don't know what yet, but it looks like it's muscular dystrophy. So for 3 months, we literally went through hell of medical appointments, and we were shattered between hope and despair. Like, worst case scenario would be Duchenne muscular dystrophy, no treatment, no hope. For now, there's nothing, patients die early, somewhere between 10 and 30. Nothing you can do. It's degenerative, becomes worse and worse. And that was the worst case scenario. There were other possibilities as well. And of course, as you said, that was the diagnosis 3 months later. Still, we were lucky that it only took 3 months. People in certain countries, it can take years to get the right diagnosis. So I'm grateful for that. But I also saw it as life telling me, oh, so you want to help others go through adversity? Oh, you want to help others remain calm under stress? Let's see if you're up to it. Of course, I didn't feel it that way, but looking back, I think it's a beautiful lesson. So yeah, how do you deal with it? How do you deal with the unimaginable when it hits you? When, people always think these kind of things happen only to other people, and I'm going to have a baby and it's going to be healthy. Well, no, you just don't know. When we got the diagnosis, the same evening, I told my husband, we were living in France, I told my husband, let's move to Dubai. He thought I had become completely crazy, but I had truly thought it through. The thing is, since there is no cure yet, obviously science is advancing and we hope that something will be found, but since there is no cure yet, I said, okay, what I can't control is his quantity of life. Life's telling me he's going to live short. But what I can try to influence is his quality of life. Let's go all in on give him beautiful life experience, however long or short it might be. So we did move to Dubai 3 months later, and I'm very happy that we live here now. The climate here is very good for his muscles. We put him in a fantastic school that really is inclusive and helping him. My career skyrocketed here. My husband is happy. We also have a second child. She's very happy. So, everything turned out fine, and we're all in on quality of life, and this disease and the way it's, progressive and getting worse and worse is teaching me over and over again the importance of proper grief, the importance of acceptance. Oh my God, that is so difficult, isn't it? Accepting the unacceptable, focusing on what you can control and accepting as soon as you can what you can't control. Decide that you're going to be happy no matter what. Decide that you're allowed to live your life in a certain way that is maybe not, what other people would do, because you focus on your values and what matters to you. So yeah, it has taught me and is still teaching me so many life lessons that I think I wouldn't have known otherwise. So it's definitely, and it's helping me out for work, knowing how to deal with stress and remain calm on the stress is one of the basics for a professional negotiator. So yeah, it helps me because I have all the stress at home. So what I do on a negotiation table is then very much bearable.
What about the emotional well-being of your son? How did you look after that?
Yeah, thank you for asking. That's one of the most important things to me, right? And I think for a lot of people, we want our children to be happy. So I regularly ask him, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 to 100, what is the score that you would give to your life? And it's often very high. Thank God he says like 9, 9.5, 99%. And then I ask him, what would it take to get to 100? And he never says not having Duchenne. I've never heard it. And then he just says, having the next Nintendo or something. So that's beautiful. And I'm very happy he's happy. Emotional well-being is one of the most important things that I want in my house. And I think he's very happy. I think he's good. Of course, the behavior part is difficult for us as parents, but that's also part of the disease, in fact, affecting his brain and the way he reacts. That is challenging, but yeah, we try to go through it with as much emotional intelligence as we can. And by sharing the story, I try to, inspire others on the journey that you can have a big hardship in your life and be happy and be successful. It's possible.
That's why we often say never take things for granted. You can be in your pinnacle of your life, but next moment you don't know what's going to be taken away from you.
Exactly. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that beautiful story. Let's go back to negotiation. What are some of the successful factors which can lead to a successful negotiation?
First of all, realizing that we're all negotiators. Whether we realize it or not, we all negotiate every single day. If it's not at work, it's at home, it's with our partner, it's with our children, it's with ourselves. That inner voice, that inner negotiation between wanting something and not doing it, it's an internal negotiation. So first step would be realize that you are a negotiator and then do something to become a better negotiator. I think the important skills are often overlooked, but it's this capacity to remain calm when things are difficult. That is one. Knowing how to manage your ego, meaning recognizing your ego and when it's ego talking and when it's your rational mind talking. I would recommend anybody to just read about it, read a negotiation book, watch something on YouTube. There's so much free info out there, and become a better negotiator, because I truly believe that when we become a better negotiator, we also become better human beings.
And why is that?
Why? Yeah, because the skills needed to be a negotiator also make you good human being. Meaning, think about skills like listening, knowing how to truly listen to people. Skills like caring, wanting to know what's important for the other party. Something like empathy, building rapport, knowing how to connect to people. All those skills, if you increase that, your emotional intelligence, it's besides the hard skills of negotiation and the tactics and the tools. If you can manage your soft skills, I don't like the word soft skills, I call them life skills, and we should teach these more in school. Life skills, emotional intelligence, knowing how to be a better human, then you're also a better negotiator, because you care about the other person, at least about wanting to know what's important to them. So you learn to listen, you learn to put your judgments aside, you learn to accept people the way they are, you learn that what's fair for you might not be fair for the other. It's communication skills. It's, again, knowing how to remain calm. So there's a lot of self-awareness that comes in this. And yeah, I'm passionate about my job, about teaching this to others, right? Because I truly believe we'd make the world a better place when we negotiate better.
I'm so glad to hear that. I actually used to think that to be a successful negotiator, one might need to be apathetic. Be hiding their emotions so well that you're not actually expressing emotions, so the other side can't really feel what you're thinking. Is that a misconception, you feel?
Have you ever negotiated with somebody who didn't show emotions at all?
When I was playing poker.
Okay, did you like it?
No.
Not playing poker, but do you like negotiating with someone like that? A little bit
Not really, because you can't really tell what the other side is thinking. And I think, to me, if someone comes to the table wanting victory, the negotiation is going to fail. But I think if the parties come to the table looking for a common ground, I think that sort of occasion or scenario is likely going to lead to a more positive outcome.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, the facts are showing that. The thing is, for a long time, negotiation books were written saying, put your emotions on the side and you have to, have a poker face and not show anything, etc. I think that's nonsense. And now even the FBI method teaches about empathy, teaches about building rapport, teaches about listening, teaches about caring. And the FBI hostage negotiators have a success rate that is very high, more than 95%. So that shows that poker face can be used as a tactic in certain situations. But I believe it's a very short-term strategy. It's like, if you don't care at all about the relationships, if you're never going to meet that person again and you want to have a quick win, then that might be a tactic in certain situations. Why not? But on the long term, how well is that going to serve you? What if you meet that person again in another circumstance? How do you want to be perceived as a negotiator? I think trust is a very important element. Reputation is a very important element. I try to, even in the toughest negotiations where, I have nothing in common with the other person and I think he or she is a complete moron, I still try to close it beautifully, saying, I want to stay true to who I am, and integrity is one of my values. And I want to be able to look myself in the mirror and say whatever I said and did is okay. And you never know when you're going to meet them again. So I think on the long term, this FBI method of empathy and listening and more human skills already shows by the statistics that it works, and is also a nicer way to negotiate for yourself and for the other.
For sure. You coach so many top CEOs, and I've been listening to your podcast as well. And you've been speaking to a lot of hostage negotiators, and you're obviously a negotiation expert yourself. Can you share some of the Can you share a couple of stories where you've seen negotiation went well and negotiation didn't go so well?
Oh, I have so many stories. Indeed. And so I launched the Life Negotiation podcast to share with my colleagues and other negotiation experts what we know, and so that other people can, negotiate better. And I would say my easiest negotiations, and you might be surprised, my easiest negotiations to come to an agreement quickly is with other negotiators. Yeah. Why? Because we know how to do it. So then there is no ego, there is no bluff, there is no lying, there is no manipulation or other things that people think are okay on a negotiation table. We go immediately to the common interest. We go immediately to, okay, this is important for me, this is important for you. And yeah, my easiest negotiations, for example, with my negotiation partners, be it Lousin Mehrabi, who is one of the best professional negotiators in the world, be it Kirk Connell, who has 30 years of negotiation experience, who has done more than 200 crisis negotiations for Scotland Yard and beyond. He's absolutely amazing. And when I have a disagreement with one of these gentlemen, I kid you not, it's like 5-10 minutes and we're done. Because we just use, we use the same method. Okay, this is what I want, this is what I need, this is what's important to me, blah, blah, blah. And zoof, we come to an agreement very quickly. The toughest negotiations are with people who can't negotiate but think they can. There you see a lot of, for example, at the moment, as we speak, I'm installing something in my house and the installation has gone bad. And during the installation, I was seeing that it was going wrong. And I informed the manager, like, this is not the way it should be. It's not clean. It's not straight. It's not this. It's not that. And unfortunately, it was just, yeah, it is. Don't worry about it. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. So now we're 1 week later and everything has to be done again because of the way that communication wasn't taken seriously, wasn't truly listened to, etc. So negotiating with somebody who thinks he can negotiate while he can't, that's the toughest. And unfortunately, that's the majority of people, especially in business.
Yeah. You mentioned about negotiation books. Is there if you were to recommend a negotiation book for our listeners to go and have a read, right? Do you have a name of what that book might be?
Yeah, there are many excellent books on the market. Written in English, I would say you can either go for Gary Nesner. Stalling for Time by Gary is an amazing book where you can learn through storytelling. So Gary Nesner was the very first chief hostage negotiator for the FBI. Also 30 years experience, fascinating experience and expertise. And in Stalling for Time, he tells about the stories and on the negotiations that he went through. And he openly shares both the success stories and the not success stories. He was one of the lead negotiators in the Waco incident, and he shares that openly. It talks about leadership, and I enjoyed that book. I read it in 1 day, finished it. So that's more storytelling and negotiation tactics. But if you want to go like truly like a textbook and learning about negotiation and everything that's involved with it, then I recommend Negotiator, That's literally the title, Negotiator, written by, that's more than 600 pages, thick book. This is something, you offer as a beautiful gift and you keep on your table for years because there's so much golden nuggets in there. And not only from them, but also from about 30 other negotiators who share their stories and their insights. So that one is a gold mine. And in France, they call it the Bible of negotiation by the press. Yeah, but it's been translated recently in English, and that's the must-have.
All right, I'll add these 2 books to my to-do list. Do you ever get nervous or anxiety? And how do you, these are high-stake conversations and negotiations. So sometimes you really have a lot of stakes involved, right? I'm sure there are occasions where you feel, your heart is pounding and you're feeling a little nervous or anxious. How do you try to hide them, or how do you manage these emotions?
Well, I'm very happy that I feel them, first of all, because that keeps me sharp. For me, emotions are my friends, so I don't try to hide them at all. I thank them for being there. Did you know that when you are nervous, your body makes chemically exactly the same stress responses and the same chemicals in your body as when you are excited?
No, I did not know that.
So now you know, and now you can use it. So when I'm nervous, I tell myself, oh, I'm so excited to do this. Whether it's a high-stake negotiation, speaking for hundreds of people, every time I get the microphone and I have to start, I feel nervousness, and I'm happy with it. So I feel it go through my body. As you said, the heart goes faster. I might feel a bit sweaty in my hands. Body temperature goes up. It's all preparing me for a fight or flight. And I love that feeling. And I tell it, thank you for being here. Thank you for wanting to protect me. I can handle this. And off we go. And then after 3 words, the nervousness is gone. So I see it as a friend. I see it as an ally that tries to protect me and keep me sharp. And then rationally, I talk to it. I negotiated it, saying, it's fine. Let's do this.
And if things are not going your way, what do you do?
Well, that happens all the time, right? Again, I think it's very important to remain calm under any circumstance, not let your amygdala get hijacked and then you say something or do something that you regret later. I always go back to, why am I here? Why am I doing this? What do I need? Need, not want. That is ego. What do I need? What stake am I trying to satisfy? And if you stay connected to that, then there are all of a sudden so many possibilities to get your needs satisfied than that first thing that, you wanted or your ego puts your mind. So always going back to the why. For example, the other day I was invited to speak for a conference, and last minute the speakers got changed and they told me, actually, we don't want you to speak in this room. We want you to speak in that room. And that room was smaller. And of course I was disappointed. But immediately I went back to why am I here? My role is to inspire people through negotiation, teach people negotiation skills so that they become better human beings. And I said, okay, I have that opportunity to do, maybe for less people than initially planned, but I still get the opportunity to share negotiation skills with people. So off we go. And I accepted it and we moved forward. So I think knowing your values, knowing your why, knowing who are you and why do you do what you do, helps in the decision making, because we all, especially when we are leaders in a company, we become decision making machines, right? We have to make so many decisions. So often we don't have time to think it through. And again, going back to why am I doing this allows you to make decisions faster.
If there's one thing that each and every one of us can do differently today or tomorrow to help, make a better place, the world a better place, right? What do you think that might be?
2 things come to mind. The first is self-awareness. Learn to know yourself, about yourself. Who are you? What matters to you? That's a gold mine, and of course a lifetime work, right? It's never finished. And the number 2 thing, I would say, listening. Learning how to listen. A majority of people don't know how to listen, and that's very frustrating. Learn how to listen, but truly listen. Not hear, listen, understand what truly matters to that other person. What are they really saying? And a very quick exercise is, right after this podcast, the next person you're talking to, try to recognize the voice in your head that while the other person is talking, you are preparing your answer. And when you are preparing your answer, you're not listening anymore.
That's listening to speak.
So try to recognize that. Exactly. You're preparing to speak. So try to recognize that and then listen. There's this beautiful saying that we got 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. maybe we should listen twice as much as we speak.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you so much for spending time on this podcast. It's been a very insightful conversation, and I'm sure myself and the listeners have learned so much about negotiation. And thank you for the recommendation for those 2 books.
You're very welcome, Aaron. Thank you for having me and the beautiful questions. Yeah, I hope your listeners enjoyed this. And if they want to connect on LinkedIn, that's totally fine. I don't do any marketing. I don't have a website, nothing. It's only through LinkedIn that I connect with people.
Sure. Okay. I'll direct all of our listeners to your LinkedIn profile. Lousin Mehrabi. Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Very good. Thanks. You.